Hello, everyone. Namaste. Good evening. My name is Marcelo Duarte. I'm Director of International Relations at ABRAPA, the Brazilian Cotton Growers Association. Brazil is the second largest cotton exporter in the world, and India is certainly one of the most important cotton and textile countries in the world, and certainly where history of cotton has started to be told many years ago. Therefore, it's so important to be here to develop and strengthen the relationships with our friends in this part of the world. I would like to say that it's a big pleasure to present to you today the Cotton Brazil Harvest 2021 webinar. Since we cannot host our dear clients from India this harvest season like we normally do this time of the year, this webinar will take you to a virtual tour to Brazilian farms. And as we talk about the main figures of next crop that will get the market in July and August this year. Before we start our webinar, I have some important information that I would like to share with you. First of all, in terms of language interpretation, please make sure that you choose English if English is your preferred language in the bottom bottom of your screen, saying interpretation, even though you are understanding me right now, because there will be some parts of the webinar that will be in Portuguese, so that's very necessary. In terms of Q&A, we will be having Q&A discussion towards the end of our session, and it will be really nice to take questions from the audience as well. So in that sense, I would encourage you to press to use this feature of the Zoom to send us questions. And if we don't have time in the end to answer all the questions, we will make sure you get your answer by email. This event has been put together by ABRAPA, ANEA, the Brazilian Cotton Shippers Association, and Apex Brazil, the Brazilian Trade Investment Promotion Agency, along with the Embassy of Brazil in India. As this initiative can only be successful with the support of these organizations, I would like to thank all our partners. Tonight's host speakers are Júlio Bussato, President of ABRAPA, and Miguel Faus, President of ANEA. I would also like to welcome our guests who will also be part of the roundtable. First, Mr. Suraj Kotak, Chairman of the Kotak Ginning and Pressing Industries. Thank you, Mr. Kotak, for being here with us today. Also, Mr. Lalit Mahajan, Mr. Lalit, who was in ABRAPA tour last year in 2019, and Vice President of the Crop Raw Materials of Handham Textiles Limited. And finally, Mr. Ranjan Chaudhary, who is Executive Director for Argon Spinning. So thank you all, dear guests and clients, for being here today. And also joining us with this in this panel today, we also have our agricultural attaché to India, Dalsi Bagolin. Thank you, Dalsi, for being with us in this roundtable. Thank you, Dalsi. Cotton Brazil also receives important support from the Brazilian government through the Embassy of Brazil in India. And therefore, I would like to call a video from Ambassador André Corrêa do Lago for his welcome speech.
Hello. I want to greet very especially our Indian partners from the Confederation of Indian Textile Industry. And also on the Brazilian side, a very special greeting to Júlio Bussato, the president of the Brazilian Association of Cotton Producers, ABRAPA. And I have to thank you for getting together to promote this partnership between India and Brazil in the area of cotton production and trade. I want also to thank my friends from Apex Brazil, and from the National Association of Exporters of Cotton, ANEA. So I must congratulate Abrapa for organizing the second Cotton Brazil Harvest Roundtable for India, building on the success of the first event that was held in January 2021. This, I believe, is really a great opportunity to discuss and present more information on the quality and the consistency of the quality and sustainability of Brazilian cotton. India has increased the consumption of Brazilian cotton by 10 times in the last 3 years. This is really great news. But as you know better than me, India, although it has become the 10th largest market for Brazilian cotton, we are still only 6% of the Indian market. So we have a huge potential to grow and we have to exploit this potential. Brazil can be a particularly reliable partner for India in complementing the local production with year-round availability. Brazil has this extraordinary possibility of complementing what India needs of quality cotton even during what is in India an off-season. So the identification of complementarities and concrete business opportunities is what we have to look for. I always say that we all agree that Brazil and India have to work together, but we need more information and we need to know each other better. And my experience as ambassador of Brazil to India in the last 2 years is that whenever we have the information, whenever we get our producers, our exporters with Indian producers, exporters, investors, we have very good results. So I'm certain that this meeting will bring very important results for the bilateral relationship. And I want to tell you that you can continue to rely on the support of this embassy, my personal support, and the support of my team. And I want to wish you all an extremely productive day. So thank you again for getting us together today.
Thank you, Ambassador. Your endorsement and support is really important to the success of this initiative. And now, covering 99% of Brazil's cotton production and 100% of the country's total cotton exports, Abrapa, the Brazilian Cotton Growers Association, is a leading national commodity organization in Brazil, representing Brazilian growers domestically and internationally. I would like now to call Mr. Julio Busato, President of Abrapa, for his welcome remarks.
Obrigado, Marcelo.
Thank you, Marcelo. Good afternoon, everyone. Everyone who is listening to us in India, I wish to thank Ambassador André Correa do Lago for his kind words. Minister Gustavo Wetzman and the whole team at the Brazilian Embassy in India for all the work and all the effort and help that you have given us. Our partner, Apex Brazil, and ANEA, the Brazilian Cotton Shippers Association, in the name of their president, Miguel Fals. I would also like to thank, in the name of Dr. Sumanda, I want to thank Citi for the support that they have given our project. And all the participants that took some time off their busy schedule to be with us today. I would also like to thank our panel members, Mr. Suresh Kotak, the chairman of Kotak Ginning and Pressing Industries, Mr. Lalit Mahajan, whom I have the pleasure to welcome in Brazil, Mr. Ranjan Shandhari, executive director of Argon Spinning Limited, who was also with us in Brazil in 2016. India is the largest and the most traditional cotton producer in the world. The world owes a lot to India as far as cotton is concerned. For instance, the first information about cotton is part of a series of Indian poems written in 600 BC called Rigveda. India also has the second largest textile industry in the world, and it has the capability of growing even more with the vocation the country has for the textile industry. We know that India is a net importer of cotton, but we believe that we can complement the supply of cotton in the country with contamination-free cotton, which is so important to add value to the Indian cotton. India has an enormous potential to grow its textile exports, especially in the post-COVID scenario that will accelerate changes in the distribution of the world industry. All of us Brazilian cotton producers want to be partners in that journey because we believe that our cotton, due to its characteristics and planting season, as well as due to our quality, and also because we produce contamination-free cotton, we can efficiently supplement cotton produced in India. I wish you all an excellent event. Back to you, Marcelo.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. Now it's time to start the presentations of today's webinar. We are going to share with you information regarding the current season numbers, season that ends next month in July 21. That's related to our 2020 harvest. We're also going to talk about quality control of Brazilian cotton, how it's done. Also, we're going to talk about next season forecast. That's pretty much the 2021 harvest that just started in Brazil. We're going to have a virtual crop tour with Brazilian cotton growers. And finally, our roundtable with our local guests that very much honor us for being here. Regarding the current season, Brazil is pretty much that season is pretty much finished in Brazil. So as I said, harvest was last year, so it's finished. Ginning was finished by the end of last year as well. Harvest was finished in September. The 100% of the bales were HVI analyzed, and that was finished by March. And farmers are on the way, finishing their last bales of the sales. So it's pretty much 97% sold by farmers and 94% of bales exported. That was last season was a very special season for Brazil. In this slide, where we see the cotton, where the cotton production is located, you can also see a graph with Brazil's last season number. We reached 3 million tons of total cotton lint production, the highest number ever for the country. an increase of 8% in our production as compared to last year's almost 2.8 million tons. On the map, you can also see the location of the main ports, with Santos being the most important by far, with 97% of cotton exports going through this port. 2021's exports will be finished in July, and the numbers are looking like they're going to finish at around 2.35 million tons. That's also a record for Brazil. In the current season, Brazil should account for 23% of the share of the global cotton trade. And our main markets are first China, second Vietnam, and third Bangladesh. India is in the top 10 export markets for Brazilian cotton, and it's important to point. We talk about quantity, but it's also important to emphasize that we have a strong focus on quality, strong focus on contamination-free, high-quality for export and also for our local industry. Brazil has put in place the SBR HVI program, a cotton quality control program. This program was established in 2007, and this year has analyzed 100% of the 14.2 million bales produced in Brazil. And these HVI analyses have the impressive level of 96% of results reliability. The classing is done in 11 labs. They are located in the producing regions, as you can see in the map. And all these 11 labs are overseen by one central lab located in Brasilia, the CBRA, which monitors and make sure that the results are trustworthy with a series of tests and retests. Now, I would like to show you how these classing labs look like. Two of these classing labs we visited recently. They were expecting the new crop samples to be tested, and now we want to share with you this video with one classing lab from Mato Grosso State and one classing lab from Bahia State, the two main producing states in the country.
Aqui, neste laboratório, nós somos certificados pelo SBR-HVI e constantemente monitorados pelo CBRA. As atividades vão iniciar em meados de junho, com previsão de término para fevereiro. Nossa equipe está preparada, aguardando esse momento para darmos início ao próximo ciclo. A previsão será de analisarmos 3 milhões de amostras. Este volume representa 100% do algodão baiano, que representa 20% do algodão brasileiro.
O laboratório Copperfibra, ele é certificado através do SBR-HVI, né, do programa do CBRA. 100% dos fardos, né, produzidos nas algodoeiras e que passa pelo laboratório de Copperfibra são analisados, são monitorados, auditados, é emitido um laudo, né, garantindo todos esses processos.
Talking about quality, talking about results, I would like to share with you some key results from our crop. First, these are some numbers that you can see in more detail if you go online. But if you look carefully, you see for length, for example, 98% of our crop was above 1.08 or 1.33 seconds or staple 35. If you change the length and look at 1.18 inches, our numbers, staple 36, our numbers have been increasing a lot. Last crop, for example, 88% of all bales analyzed fit within this range or above 1.18 inches, an impressive increase in the last 5 seasons. Regarding micronair, 99% of our crop was last year within the range of 3.5 to 4.9. In terms of strength, 98% was above 27 GTEX. And as far as short fiber is concerned, that's also a point that we've been working very hard in Brazil. It's been improving year after year, now each reaching 80% of short fiber index below 10%, another impressive increase in the last 5 seasons. If you want to see the total detailed results, please access the website downloads.cottonbrazil.com/quality report. There you see information of quality detailed in all the parameters season by season of the last season since 2017. As you can see, not only the reliability of the HBI results is trustable, but also the overall quality of Brazilian cotton has been improving consistently over the years as well. Now, we are going to talk about the 2021 season. First, I would like to share with you our cotton calendar. We know it's planting season in India, and in Brazil, it's harvest season. So, because we are in the Southern Hemisphere. So, in the top part of the calendar, you see the calendar for the 21-22 crop marketing year. So that's related to the crop that was harvested in 2020-2021. And in this case, as I said, we are finishing exporting. So there's not, now it's just the end of the season, the end of the exports. And now our main topic is the 2021 harvest, which will be marketed in 21-22 marketing year. So this is the calendar. So that's the crop that we are starting to harvest right now. It was planted in November, December, January until February this year. And now it starts to be harvested and will be harvested until the month of September. Now, let's go and take a look at the video from our president, Mr. Julio Busato, talking about the 2021 harvest in one of the first harvest days of this season.
Meu nome é Júlio César Busato, eu sou engenheiro agrônomo, agricultor, plantador de algodão e presidente da Associação Brasileira dos Produtores de Algodão, a Abrapa. Nós estamos aqui no estado de São Paulo, dando a largada. É o início da nossa colheita. E a colheita deve se encerrar até final de setembro. O plantio dessa safra foi um pouco difícil, principalmente nos estados da Bahia e do Mato Grosso, mas felizmente os agricultores possuem uma capacidade muito grande de plantio, uma organização e conseguiram efetuar o plantio e estabelecer as suas lavouras. Nós reduzimos a área plantada no Brasil em 17% em relação ao ano passado. Na tomada de decisões do produtor se ele ia plantar algodão, milho ou soja, a rentabilidade da lavoura de algodão estava muito comprometida, né? Nós estávamos, na época, plantando algodão com prejuízo, porque os preços estavam abaixo do custo de produção. E a área até podia ser menor ainda. Mas por que não foi? Porque os produtores têm a consciência que nós precisamos manter os mercados que nós conquistamos, nós precisamos manter as nossas equipes que foram treinadas e preparadas para produzir algodão e os investimentos que foram feitos na lavoura de algodão.
President Julio grows cotton in Bahia State, but shot this video in São Paulo State, where was the first state to start harvest this season in Brazil. Now they're harvesting Bahia as well. Now, let's take a look at other states. Let's make another trip to Brazil. At this time of the year, Abrapa normally hosts many clients from all over the world to visit our farms, gins, and labs. It's probably our favorite time of the year where we can harvest and also host our dear friends and clients from overseas. Since this year it is not possible, we are going to present to you now Abrapa's Virtual Farm Tour 2021, visiting farms around the country.
Esse ano a gente teve uma redução de área de algodão devido aos atrasos de chuva na época de plantio. Com o atraso de plantio, a gente vai ter uma colheita um pouco mais tarde em relação aos outros anos. A lavoura até agora ela tem mostrado de boa qualidade, muito bem conduzida, sem pragas e com certeza a gente vai ter um algodão de qualidade e com uma produção excelente esse ano. Para a próxima safra, com certeza o algodão vai ter aumento de área. Eu acho que volta os planejamentos que a gente tinha em 2019, 2020, onde que o algodão teve uma área um pouco maior que esse ano. Com certeza a chuva vai vir mais cedo, se Deus quiser, e a gente vai ter uma área um pouco maior que esse ano.
Na nossa região, a maioria das lavouras de algodão sucede a lavoura de soja. E tivemos um diferencial este ano de ter o atraso do plantio da soja devido ao início das chuvas também atrasarem. Em consequência, nossa janela de plantio ficou entre o final do mês de janeiro e início de fevereiro. Nós investimos em compensação muito em fertilidade, em materiais genéticos mais modernos, mais precoces, para poder compensar esse atraso aí no plantio. Esperamos ter um bom resultado, assim como foi no ano passado. Nós mantivemos a mesma área de plantio, em torno de 2.000 hectares, e vamos ter sucesso nesta colheita da mesma forma que nós viemos tendo nos últimos anos.
O início do plantio em Mato Grosso do Sul, ele acontece no mês de dezembro e a colheita acontece nos meses de junho, julho e agosto. E a qualidade dessa safra, nós estamos apostando que vai ser muito boa, tanto o tipo como o HVI, que nós vamos colher essa lavoura aqui totalmente sem chuva, né? Isso ajuda muito no tipo do algodão. Mato Grosso do Sul, como o algodão é só de verão, realmente esse ano, no mês de abril, tivemos um clima atípico. Houve falta de chuva. Hoje, usando muita tecnologia em variedades, a gente consegue manter um bom tipo, uma boa qualidade.
As lavouras de algodão estão em perfeitas condições, tiveram um desenvolvimento normal e vai ter uma excelente produção e qualidade de pluma. A cotonicultura brasileira ela trabalha para ter fibras cada vez melhores. Trabalha em genética, trabalha em manejo, trabalha num contexto para ter uma qualidade excelente para atender grandes mercados. Qualquer mercado internacional hoje pode vir aqui no Brasil que vai comprar coisa boa.
Na parte de qualidade, a gente acredita que este ano a gente possa ter um algodão até um pouco superior ao ano passado. A gente escolhe as variedades de acordo com o resultado da safra anterior. Conversamos com outros produtores que plantam também, analisamos as produtividades em conjunto, olhamos as qualidades intrínsecas nas algodoeiras também, e aí acabam sendo escolhida a variedade que atende em qualidade e também em produtividade para o produtor. Segundo os laboratórios que a gente tem consultado, a gente tem conseguido uma boa qualidade intrínseca da pluma produzida no nosso estado. A gente acredita que a gente pode atender às exigências tanto do mercado nacional como do mercado externo.
E as perspectivas são muito boas. Tivemos sim um bom posicionamento de lavoura desde o início, graças à escolha das melhores cultivares, de acordo com a nossa região, de acordo com o nosso solo. A expectativa de produtividade é muito boa. É claro, tivemos sim que driblar o bicudo, esperávamos alguns milímetros a mais de chuva nesse final de ciclo e o planejamento para a safra 21 e 22 já acontece. E nós esperamos retomar a nossa área média, que é de 2.500 hectares de algodão plantado. Fazemos parte de um grupo de agricultores que caminha rumo à sustentabilidade, porque produzimos com excelência. E é isso que nós queremos, nos tornar o maior exportador de algodão do mundo.
É muito importante passar para você que está comprando algodão aí do outro lado do mundo, que nós aqui no Brasil estamos plantando algodão para um futuro melhor.
Aqui no Brasil, nós crescemos por um futuro melhor.
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 Every time I see this, as most of you know, I'm currently in Singapore, and every time I see this video, I feel homesick from missing my country and missing especially those fields and friends that are there, and especially in this great time of the year that's harvest, as I said. Well, now let's move on to talk about next season forecast, the season that we're just starting right now. Considering what the farmers told in some of the videos, the adverse climate and with reduced rainfall, especially at the planting time, and also higher margins for corn and soybeans who compete for area with cotton, the final numbers are going to be smaller for this year in terms of crop size. The numbers we're expecting to see in Brazil for cotton production are going to be around 2.36 million tons, a 21% reduction according to Abrapa from last year, it's 3 million tons. The Brazilian government estimates are slightly higher at 2.44, still a 19% reduction, and that's mainly caused by reduction in area. As you can see, the area is reduced at the same level because yield, productivity remains at the same level as last year. In terms of exports, from Brazil, we will definitely see a slight reduction in the 21-22, of course, because of the reduction in production. The next season, Brazil's share of the international market will be of about 20%. But as you can see in the bottom right graph of your slide, the projections of Brazil's Ministry of Agriculture show that our exports can grow up more than 100% within the next decade, showing a huge potential for Brazil and for the country to continue growing its production and exports. As long-term perspectives are very positive, let's talk about the future. Now let's hear our President Júlio Busato talking about Abrapa's perspectives about future growth of cotton production in Brazil.
As lavouras estão muito boas. Eu acho que nós devemos manter a mesma produtividade que nós tivemos no ano passado. A nossa expectativa é que nós voltemos à área que nós plantamos o ano passado ou que fiquemos muito próximo disso. Vai depender muito de como vai se comportar o mercado e os preços do milho, da soja e do algodão nos próximos meses. Para um longo prazo, nós acreditamos que o algodão brasileiro tem um enorme potencial para crescer. Nós vamos precisar de duas coisas. Primeiro, mercado que compra esse algodão. Segundo, rentabilidade da lavoura do algodão. E essa rentabilidade ela vem da produtividade, dos custos de produção e do preço que o algodão estiver no mercado. Mas com certeza o Brasil deverá, nos próximos anos, crescer muito a produção de algodão. Nós conseguimos, nos últimos 4 anos, dobrarmos a produção do algodão brasileiro e pretendemos fazer isso num espaço um pouco maior de tempo.
And now it's time to reach our final remarks before we get to our roundtable. So there are some points I would like to make concerning cotton production and exports in Brazil. First, Brazil is definitely a long-term player in the international cotton trade. We are here to stay. The 2021 harvest will be smaller than the previous season's crop, but it's still the third largest crop in Brazil's history. The medium to long-term trend is to continue growing production and exports because Brazil has natural resources like favorable weather and also land and also growers that are willing to take risks and make investments to grow cotton. Sustainability. 80% of Brazil's 2021 harvest will be certified by the Brazilian Responsible Cotton, ABR, which is eligible for BCI credits. There's a huge focus also on sustainability in Brazil with robust quality control program for our 100% mechanized harvest, which guarantees to us contamination-free cotton throughout our entire production. We have an office in Asia. I'm here in Singapore right now, showing our commitment to be closer to our clients and develop stronger ties, and also focus on partnerships like we have with Citi. So I would like to thank Citi, thank Dr. Sunanda and now their team, and everybody, Mr. Kotak, who is here representing Citi, for the partnership that we are developing with this such important organization in the textile sector in India. So thank you very much. And now we move on to our the next part of our event, which is our roundtable. So I would like to call now Mr. Julio Pusato, our president. Here also Miguel Fals, the president of ANEA, the Cotton Shippers Association. Mr. Suresh Kotak, please step forward. Mr. Ranjan, please, Mr. Lalit, and also Dalsi Bagolin, our agricultural attaché. So thank you all. Thank you all for being here. And now let's start our discussion, asking, sorry, I would like to ask Miguel Fals. Miguel is president of ANEA, the Brazilian Cotton Shippers Association, for his welcome. Miguel hasn't said anything yet, but is a very important partner to this program since he represents the Brazilian shippers merchants who are partnering with Abrapa in Cotton Brazil. Please, Miguel.
Thank you, Marcelo. Good morning, Mr. Suresh Kotak, Mr. Mahajan, and Mr. Laudari, our friends from India. Good evening to all of you. President Julio Busato and Mr. Tassi Bagolin from the Brazilian Embassy in India. Good day, good morning to all of you. It's a pleasure to be here in this discussion, ready to discuss about the Brazilian cotton, trying to find which ways Brazil and India can improve their cooperation in many areas like production and trade. And as exporters, we want to tell you that we, the Brazilian exports, are ready to improve our share in the Brazilian market and complement the qualities that the Indian textile industry may require. And we are ready all year round to provide volumes and good cotton that you may require. So we are ready here to answer any questions that you may have, and I'm looking forward for this webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Miguel. So now we have three guests in India, apart from Mr. Bagolin, who is in our embassy. So he's I don't consider you as a guest because you're a Brazilian as well, though. See, so but of course it's a big pleasure to have you here. And so I will start with Mr. Kotak. Mr. Kotak, we talked last week, and I was quite impressed by your experience in the cotton sector, your knowledge of the cotton market, and as you saw, Brazil, and you know, of course, Brazil has been growing its production and it has been taking a large share of international market. But we haven't been successful in India, and we know we could play an important role with contamination-free cotton to the Indian market, since Brazil is aware of India's huge production, and it will continue to be so. So we could complement India with our contamination-free cotton. So what is, in your perspective, is needs to be done in order for Brazil and India to increase their partnerships in the cotton and textile sectors?
Thank you, Marcelo. Looking at the presentation and even knowing and having visited Brazil number of times, I know that Brazilian cotton has unique fiber attributes. The certain advantages of Brazilian cotton is known to textile industry, but there are various factors which could be brought in to complement and to increase the partnership of Brazilian cotton with Indian cotton. I personally feel that one of the important point is that the cotton must be at hand, because the Indian textile mills, they run with comparatively shorter inventory, so that the cotton is available on hand. So if something is done to keep cotton in stock in Kandla, Kandla is in the western part, and where there is international zones available where you can store the cotton without any handicap of taxation or anything. It is a re-exporting place, and many people keep the stock not only of cotton but many other things there, and it is a good storing place, much better than Malaysia, because today the international cottons are all stored in Malaysia. But I would try, you may complement it here. Not only you will be able to sell to Indian market, but you will be able to sell, re-export also to all the destination, because Kandla is very, very equidistant from various places. Even better equidistance than Singapore or Malaysia. So this is one thing which could be done to increase the complementary and use of the cotton, and that would be helping the textile mills. Second thing, of course, attributes wise, you have certain advantages, but you have a certain range, that is 1332 to 118, or maybe you may be having some 1532 too. But the cottons in India which is used as 118 is the Shankar cotton. Now Shankar cotton has uh, has a certain price advantage. So the premiums the mills will pay. For contamination, the mills will pay the premium, definitely, because we also need certain kind of regular cotton. The greatest point is that you have to contemporize the price plus premium of quality with Shankar. So you must keep in mind the Shankar prices to market the Shankar plus how many points. So Shankar plus how many points is your marketing strategy. That is what I feel. Secondly, what the advantage we must promote to the textile mills is your sustainability. Now sustainability factor, as you have very well described, I compliment Mr. Giulio Busato and all other speakers for mentioning, and you mentioned about ABR, and you also mention about quality control. That gives a great advantage, and that advantage we should sell in marketing the cotton, but that can only be taken if the cotton is on hand. My point is, if you keep little some consignment stock in Kandla, it will have a better chance of selling. And secondly, the kind of the kind of interest rate, or when you sell the cotton, you can also take a credit advantage of international finance. Now international finance is very cheap and it is at a very low rate of interest. In India the rates of interest are higher, so if you are able to leverage that point of finance, I repeat, leverage that point of finance, then also these are various avenues to sell. But definitely the cotton is at a premium, but you have to contemporize or equate it in terms of value and the price against Shankar cotton, which is the basic cotton of Indian cotton. I have finished, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Suresh. Would like to ask Miguel if you do you know Kandla port? I've been to Mundra port in Gujarat. I think it closed, right? Mundra. I was quite impressed by Mundra's in really impressive infrastructure. I would suppose Kandla would be similar. Do you know, Miguel, any port in India? What do you think about this suggestion?
I will
Well,
tell you.
thank you, Marcelo. Thank you, Mr. Kotar. I haven't been in India, unfortunately. So it's a place that I would like to visit as soon as it's possible to travel
Mundra,
in the
just
near future.
I will answer Marcelo. Marcelo, the Mundra and Kandla all are in vicinity and they enjoy the same, they are both in very great vicinity. So Kandla Mundra is the same zone. So we can take advantage of both the ports.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
so I understand that. That's something that definitely we can look into for the future, see if it's feasible, economically feasible to develop a bonded warehouse or use a bonded warehouse in the future. But always uh, keeping stocks overseas is something very expensive. Any place, Brazil has to attend different markets in Asia, and it has been something that has been tried in the past, leaving stocks on hand, and frankly, it's something very expensive. What has worked in a few occasions is that some merchants had gotten a float out of Brazil with destination to Asia, to the Far East. And sometimes this is a cotton that can reach in a faster period of time to a specific mill. So I would recommend in the meantime that the textile industries in India, when they are looking into Brazilian cotton, also ask if there is any cotton afloat. The quantities are not that big for obvious reasons, but sometimes there is cotton available. And as I said, looking at a warehouse and the destination is something that can be looked into for the future. But the key issue here is going to be the cost to leave to hold the cotton for some period of time.
Thank you, Miguel. Now I move to Lalit. Lalit, you were there in Brazil in last Abrapa tour. You were in Mr. Busato's farm. You went around to several farms you visited in the last one. And Mr. Ranjan, he was there. He was in 2016, right? Ranjan was in 16, and Lalit was a bit more recent. Could you share a little bit with us about your experience and what you were expecting to see, what you actually saw, and whether that experience helped you to start thinking on how you could include Brazil more in the mix of your company?
At the outset, I am very thankful and thank the Papa for a great host for during tour to Brazil. And Brazilian cotton has a very unique advantage of from southern hemisphere, because only 13 to 14% of cotton is out of 25 million tons, around 3.5 million ton cotton is available from southern hemisphere, and Brazilian cotton, and out of that 75% cotton is Brazilian cotton. And Brazilian cotton is available at that time when other cottons are in short supply, and Brazilian cotton is available in abundance. This is the unique advantage of Brazilian cotton in the world textile industry. Prior to going to the Abrapa tour, there was some misgiving about the testing and quality testing of Brazilian cotton, but when we see and go and visit and see the very robust system of testing of Brazilian cotton, all the states, be it Mato Grosso, Bahia, or any other state, and over and above, there was a centralized lab at Brasilia, maintained by Abrapa and taken care by ICA women to take care of all the cotton produced. They are testing all the cotton produced in all the state of Brazil and putting the results of those testing cotton in website, and anybody can see that result. That is a great achievement by Abrapa to establish the quality of Brazilian cotton. Second good thing about Brazilian cotton, which we appreciate and understand, that the seed search program being followed by all the states of cotton producing of Brazil. The uniqueness of this seed search system is that, as we understand that every growing season, the farmers choose 20% of the newly researched seed, and they grow that seed, and then check the quality of that seed on the time of harvesting, and if that seed is suitable, then they commercially go it for the next season, and otherwise they give their requirements to the seed research stations about how to improve the length, short fiber decrease, micron air control, etc. That is a very unique thing in Brazilian cotton system. Second is the mechanical, as already mentioned, mechanical picking. Brazils have very huge farms. Be it, we have met 3 or 4 big farmers, be it Schaffer Group, be it Bomfutoro, or SLC Group and Bahia. All are very, very huge farmers, and because of that, and mechanical picking, manual intervention is hardly there, and with that, Brazilian cotton is qualified for the contamination control cotton. India being a surplus state, surplus cotton country, a cotton producing state, but at the same time, India requires compulsorily import of contamination control cotton. And apart from US and Australian cotton, Brazilian has the advantage of mechanical picking available cotton, and they can have their share of supply in India. But at the same time, there are some improvement area that required to be taken care of by the Abrapa as well as cotton growing people in Brazil. That is, as in USDA, there is a green card quality of cotton that is certified by USDA Department of US. But as we were told during our visit that Brazil is also going to start blue card for certified quality of Brazilian cotton. But so far we have not heard anything about it. It is better as soon as it will be started, it will be better for the Brazilian cotton. And second is Brazilian cotton has slightly more short fiber and naps as compared to US and Australian cotton. And because of that, it is not suitable for finer counts. So at the seed research stations, you must give mandate to the scientists that to produce the seed which have less short fibers and less nap generating fibers. And ginning also plays a very important role in producing short fiber and naps. And some work can be done at ginning stage also to decrease the short fiber as well naps. And one more improvement area is that many shippers do not provide the RD and B value during the HVI parameters, which is of course a very important parameters for cotton point of view. And we request the Abrapa to impress upon the shippers to provide the RD and B value parameters while selling the Brazilian cotton to anywhere in the world. Because we have seen that RD and B value are being checked by the manually, grading was done by manually as well as HVI testing was also done, and it is available with the shippers, but it will be better if they share it with the consuming milk. And at the same, one more point is for Mato Grosso, because Mato Grosso produce almost 65% of Brazilian cotton. The Mato Grosso cotton has need to develop the seed which with more in the length. As Kotak Saab has told that it is comparable to Shankar, but I have a slightly difference of opinion that most of the Shankar cotton is 1/5/32, but most of the Brazilian cotton is 1/1/8, and whereas most of the cotton of US as well as Australian is 1/5/32. If Brazilian cotton has to compete with both these countries, cotton supplying countries, then they have to produce more of 1/5/32 cotton. And for that, if that has to be produced, that has to be produced through Mato Grosso only, because they produce 65% of your cotton. These are the points of my visit of Abrapa at Brazil. Thank you.
Could you move your head down to show your beautiful hat, the beautiful hat you're wearing? Look at that, yeah. Beautiful. Thank you, Lalit. I would like to, before passing to Mr. Ranjan, I would like to hear Mr. Busato from your comments as from Lalit's perspective and observations.
Olha, Marcelo, Marcelo, first off, I'd like to talk about what Mr. Suresh said. Based on his experience, we have to listen to what he has to say, of course. And that's exactly the idea of this webinar, to listen to you. to listen to your questions, to listen to your needs. As for cotton availability, we'll check into that, right, Marcelo? Marcelo is already in charge of doing that, right, Marcelo? And he'll try to identify all the costs involved. The final number is closely linked to costs that may impact cotton prices. But that's the idea, as I said. So we'll make a note of that and check the possibility of doing that, to Mr. Suresh's point, to better explore the ports. When you talk about sustainability, Mr. Suresh, you are correct. The Brazilian Responsible Cotton Program, the ABR program, is one of the most thorough sustainability programs that we see in the world, because for growers to be able to be certified by the ABR program, they need to comply with requisites audited by international companies. They need to meet 178 items covering economic, social, and environmental issues, and also following all the Brazilian Forest Code requisites. Brazil is the only country to have a forest code. Just to give you an idea, Brazilian cotton growers now preserve native vegetation up to 35% of their farms, and 36% of all BCI cotton in the world comes from Brazil, from our ABR program. And we, Brazilian growers, we are very proud that 10 years down the road, after 10 years working hard on those programs, today we can say we have reached the level of 83% of our cotton being ABR certified. As to Mr. Lalit's observations, yes, Brazil today has volume and supply that can extend through 12 months of the year. Our SBR HVI system, run by our central lab located in Brasilia, that lab checks all labs across Brazil. Brazilian cotton is fully tested. Every bale is tested, both for the internal market and for the external market. And the SBR HVI program runs a check on the HVI machines located at participating labs across Brazil. And they check if those machines comply with the requisites put forth by the central lab. We've had this program in place for 3 years. Back in the day when we started the program, the labs had a compliance level with the central lab of 92%. Today, 3 years later, we have reached the level of 96% of compliance. Some of the labs actually have reached the level of 99% of compliance. So this program not only checks the labs, but it has also helped improve the quality of the HVI testing samples for Brazilian cotton. Abrapa also has its Abrapa information system, which has been in place for 17 years. So today we are able to know exactly where each bale was produced, who handled that bale, and where that bale was ginned. As to the green card issue, Well, my friend Lalit, you'll need to wait just a little longer for that. We are working hard on that green card front, working along with the Ministry of Agriculture in Brazil. We are already in the process of certifying labs. And if everything goes according to plan, not for this season, this crop, but for the next one, hopefully we'll be able to offer our blue card for the next season. As for the short fiber index, it is a complaint that we have been hearing on a constant basis from almost all our clients. But we started getting that from them only or as recent as 3 years ago. Before that, that information never got to us. It's a recent piece of news. And if we look at the data, Marcelo has the data, for the past 3 years, we have managed to improve the numbers around short fiber index. And today, we know that problem is quite related to varieties, the types of seed which are planted. Some varieties which are extremely productive, which produce high yields, are no longer being planted, or because they offer or they lead to SFI issues. So we're changing varieties, and because of that, we tend to improve going forward. As to RD plus B, unfortunately, when Brazilian cotton resumed high production 25 years ago, we adopted a model to assess cotton take-up manually. So the HVI machines that came to Brazil, they had a simple color head, and a simple color heads do not provide good reliability in the results. But we are already changing that. We are addressing that issue, and more than 50% of our HVI machines today at our labs already have installed double color heads, which can be found in HVI machines in the US and also in other countries. So those were my remarks to your questions. I apologize if I took too long in answering them, but I just needed to address all those concerns that you've raised. Marcelo, back to you.
Mr. President. Thank you. I was certainly very complete answer as usual. Now I move on to Mr. Ranjan. Mr. Ranjan was also present in one of the Brapa's tours. He knows Brazil very well, and he's also he's also got a very international experience. He's an Indian citizen, and now he spends in Bangladesh. And Bangladesh is one of the largest buyers of Brazil's cotton. So he's got a large experience in working and dealing with cotton, Brazilian cotton. I would like to hear from him his perspectives and his views on how Brazil can improve and can develop a stronger relationship with India, because we all know, as President Julio said, that India is in a very good position to increase its exports in the textile sector in the next few years. And it's working very heavily in that direction. So therefore, I think Brazil will certainly be an important partner, an increasingly important partner for the Indian textile sector. So Mr. Ranjan, I would like to hear your perspectives since you have such a broad international experience. Thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you, Marcelo. I actually visited Brazil in 2016, and I was really impressed by the way the farmers worked there, by the way they were cultivating, they were harvesting. Actually, the best thing about my visit was the commitment and enthusiasm shown by the farmers there. The moment you went to the farms, all of them came to you. Even some of the farmers came to me with a new variety of cotton, showing me the results. Sir, this is the mic I am getting. This is the length I am getting. Like at that time, they were getting some micronair of 4.8, but with an increased length. So they were taking some trials. So they were so much enthusiastic about getting information from the technical people who are working in the mills. So that was wonderful. Secondly, what I saw there was most of the people, what they said that, okay, we want to do this, they were actually doing it. And over the next few years, I saw whatever they said, they have done it. So that was the most wonderful thing. You know, you go to so many places, you find people telling, okay, I want to do this, I will do this. But actually, you know, it's only words. But because I have been following Brazil from 2016 onwards, and every year I am increasing my consumption of Brazil cotton. I am increasing the percentage of Brazil cotton. Now, why Brazil cotton? You know, I am using cotton from West Africa, America, even Indian cotton I am importing. Then I am importing from Brazil. Best thing about Brazil was, of course, as Mr. Kotak said and Mr. Lalit also said, is contamination free. Second is, you know, the yarn realization. If I buy, cotton, let us say from India, I get a moisture of around 8.5%. Then there is a trash of around 3.5 to 4%, depending on locality, depending on which area I buy cotton. But in Brazilian cotton, my moisture content is lower, my trash percentage is lower. So what I feel is always I have gotten around 2.5 to 3%, maybe sometimes even more, depending from which area the cotton I have purchased from India or Brazil, 2.5 to 3% more yarn realization. Then, of course, another question is sustainability. Most of my buyers, because we are having a denim mill, then we are having a garments, so they are asking for sustainable. Brazil, I get all BCI cotton. 100% of the cotton I import from Brazil is BCI. So that one part of that problem is solved, the being of sustainability. Contamination free? Yes. Relation better? Yes. Now, another thing that happened, you know, I was asked by one of the mills who was a knitting factory who was making fabric for US. It's an American company, basically. They said they wanted to make a fabric without enzyme, knitted fabric without use of enzyme. So I said, okay, fine. But at that time, I took trials. I took, you know, Indian cotton, West African cotton, 2-3 different countries cotton, and Brazil cotton. Actually, we were knitting Uzbek cotton at that time, but at that time, Uzbek cotton was like, you know, because of labor issues and all, it was sanctioned. So when we made the fabric and we processed the fabric without using the enzyme, the Brazil cotton was, the appearance of the fabric was the best in the Brazilian cotton. So automatically, slowly, we have switched from our normal cotton to Brazilian cotton. And another thing which I would like to share was the problem of Brazilian cotton is availability, long time of shipment. This we need to solve. You know, it's, yes, I agree, it's far off. There may be some logistic issues and all, but unless and until this is solved, as Mr. Kotak already said very clearly, you know, in India, mills don't keep inventory. We want cotton, okay, I am paying today, I am buying, or we buy it on credit, we'll pay later. And market price changes. You know, suppose, okay, this time the market is going higher, but suppose I book cotton today from Brazil, I open LC, okay, and I fix at the price. By the time that cotton arrives to me, and if suppose the market is crashed, then I am nowhere. Now, that variation in price, the time lag from ordering of cotton to landing at my factory, that is an issue. So we need to solve that. In Bangladesh, we don't have an issue because the whole country will face the same problem. But in India, it's a different ball game. So I think it covers most of the points already covered by Mr. Kotak and Mr. Mahajan, what they said. I agree to whatever they said, and these were my additions.
Thank you, Mr. Ranjan. It was thank you very much. I would like to ask Mr. Busato for his comments.
I'd like to, first of all, thank you for your words, Mr. Ranjan. Especially when you talk about what we say, what we promise, we delivered. Thank you for that. And we hope we can continue to do that, to do things that way. You also mentioned that we can import even more cotton. I'd say the following. We want you to import more cotton from Brazil. We want you to do that. And the availability issue that you raised, that's something we're going to be addressing. We need to assess the following. That variation in price, it might be eliminated when we have contracts in place for the future contracts with some anticipation, when we have a longer time to plan. Brazilian growers have been meeting or abiding by the contracts that were entered into, irrespective of the trend in cotton prices. So we do have this, if I may, tradition of honoring contracts. And that's why we can do business in advance, close contracts in advance with a good planning in place. But we will assess, as I said, as I said to Mr. Kotak, as I said before earlier today, we'll be assessing all that. Marcelo is on top of that as well. And we'll try and raise and identify all the costs involved in terms of making cotton more available. And we'll sure address this and try to reach a consensus that will be beneficial to both parties. And with that, we hope to be making more deals. Marcelo, with that information in hand, we'll surely get back to you so that you can find the best way forward.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you. Definitely put numbers into these strategies to understand more. As I said, I have already been in Mundra and I was really impressed by what I saw. It's really impressive infrastructure. And I haven't been to Kandla, but as Mr. Kotak said, it's very close. And we are looking long time here. We know we're going to have a bottleneck this year, as I said, a reduction in our production, so we won't be. I mean, but since we're talking long term, we are talking about long term partnerships. This is something we should be looking, since distances are not going to be any closer if we don't do anything differently. So, Dalcy, I would like to hear from you whether you know of any industry that has already. Dalcy is our agricultural attaché. He's talking from the Brazilian embassy, and how could the Brazilian embassy support this type of initiative with the Indian government, with the Indian logistic operators, and whether we can get some how you can support us in this sense, please.
Well, first of all, I would like to thank you, Abrap, for inviting me to this important event. I would like also to thank you, CITI, for being a partner of this event. I am from the state of Mato Grosso, like Marcelo, and I would like to testify the high commitment of the farmers in technology, in quality, and in sustainability. It was very good to see in the video that we saw before that all area of cotton, there was a permanent preservation area in the background. Brazil has strict laws about the preservation of the natural vegetation. So it's very good to see it in the videos. I think that the most important point about the increased trade between Brazil and India is the lack of knowledge. So Brazil knows not so much about India, the same India doesn't know so much about Brazil. So events like that is very important to increase awareness of India about the Brazilian cotton,
So I think that what the embassy can do is stimulate and support this kind of initiative. Since last year, when the Abrapa came to Asia, that Marcelo established in Singapore, we had already supported several events, and we can see a response of eating numbers. This year, from January to May, Brazil exported to India about $80 million, more than $80 million in cotton. In the same period of the last year, from January to May, it was around $2 million, and 2019 around $3 million. So we this year are exporting more than 3 times that we exported in average last 2 years. So it's I believe that is a response for these initiatives that can increase the awareness about the quality, about the sustainability and availability of cotton from Brazil. So the embassy, as always, is very supportive to all initiatives to increase this awareness about the quality, sustainability, and availability of the Brazilian cotton.
Thank you, Dalcy. Thank you. We have also a question here from the audience. I would like to direct it to Mr. Bussato. President Bussato, it's regarding yield in Brazil. Brazil is known for its very high yields per hectare, one of the largest in the world if you consider non-irrigated areas. And what is Brazil's secret? That's the question here.
Olha, eu entendo que o que nos dá essa produtividade.
I think what gives us that yield, first of all, is production scale in Brazil. Those that came to Brazil could see it today. The average yield, well, the average grower has over 3,000 hectares, so that allows them to acquire machines, technology, and inputs. So farm size favors us, but most certainly what favors us the most is the weather in Brazil, especially in the Cerrados, in the center of Brazil, which is basically where we produce 94% of Brazilian cotton. Marcelo, I think that these are the 2 drivers behind our yield.
Now there's another question, Julio, from the audience. Devin Shah from Baidas Cotton, Mumbai, asking the question, in the past, Mato Grosso used to be traded at a premium over Bahia. Do all major growing regions enjoy a similar quality of price compared to earlier years, or is there still a difference? So thanks and best regards, Devin Shaw.
Marcelo, eu gostaria de que o Miguel respondesse.
I would like for Miguel to answer that question, really, because he masters that part of our discussion. Thank you. Miguel?
Thank you, Mr. Divansha, for the question. No, I don't think there is a premium for Mato Grosso cotton over Bahia at the moment, and we never saw this in the past. All the states produce very similar quality, not only Mato Grosso, Bahia, but Minas Gerais, Goiás, Tocantins, and Mato Grosso do Sul. So the quality from one state to the other today is very similar. What may happen eventually is that Bahia cotton is harvested 1 month earlier than Mato Grosso. So sometimes you may have a premium for the Bahia cotton right in the beginning of the crop, in the month of July or August eventually, but not because of the quality, but because of the availability. So the quality is pretty much the same today all over the country.
Thank you, Miguel. Now, basically, the webinar, the proposal, the idea of this webinar was to engage in one more conversation, in one more point of connection with our friends in India, but not to stress all topics, because we know that there are so many things to talk, to discuss, and to know. But I'm totally sure that now, after talking and knowing each other more, we are ready for new engagements, now ready for new conversations, and ready for start to write this beautiful story, continue writing between Brazil and India. So now we move on to the end part of this webinar with the final remarks from each of our guests. I would like to initially ask Mr. Kotak for your final remarks and closing words for today's webinar.
Mr. Kotak, your final remarks.
See, actually, Brazilian cotton can sell on merits with a premium, but what I told is has to be understood that it has to contemporize, in the sense it has to move along with the value of Shankar, because when it is a complementary cotton, you see the certain kind of blends can work through. The disadvantage of Shankar is one important point is the strength. The Brazilian cotton has lot of strength, and the strength, regularity, these two are featured in the sustainability. And what Mr. Julio Busato has said about the fiber quality, the fiber parameters, the elongation, the regularity, uniformity, all the aspects, the Brazilian cotton has achieved a lot. So it can sell as a complementary. And another point which has been told is very correct, that when Brazilian cotton can come here, at that time, the other cottons may not be that available, so Brazilian cotton can easily sell. But what I said, that if the cotton is on hand to an extent, it sells easy. People used to stock in China. In China, people stock the cotton, and because it is stocked cotton, it finds easy market. And that is what Mr. Ranjan Chaudhary also said, that you see the availability, and during the time the cotton arrives, you open the LC with a very paper thin margin, and if the prices change, you enter into a loss. And that is what Mr. Chaudhary explained very well. I think that is the point, to avoid that point. So the inventory loss, and that inventory loss should be taken care by the vicinity of the cotton. These are my final remarks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kotak. We have a lot of work to do, and with your support and your guidance, it's going to be much easier. Thank you very, very much. Now, I'd like to ask Mr. Lalit, for your final remarks, please.
Thank you very much.
My final remarks are that Brazilian cotton has a very great possibility of increasing its share in Indian market, as India imports around 250,000 tons per year, and Brazilian share is around 7 to 8% out of that, and it can go up to 20%. And if we take care of the points taken by Kotak sir, the availability of cotton is in the period of the difference distance time can be avoided by availability of cotton nearby, then sale of Brazilian cotton can increase up to 20% of total Indian import. That is my final remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Lalit. Mr. Ranjan, please.
before closing, I would like to add one more thing. See, everything is fine. We need to educate the mills about Brazilian cotton. Let us say, for example, US cotton. Everybody knows US cotton. The moment somebody says, I need contamination free cotton, the first thing comes to their mind is Australian and American. But it is still not Brazilian cotton. And that is why US cotton is selling at premium. Why Brazilian cotton is not having premium is only because of people don't know this cotton. But once they know, I can assure you, Brazilian cotton will be earning the same kind of premium that American cotton is earning. So educating the mills, sending technical people, helping them out for providing solutions, I think that is an area what you should work on. That would help. And rest everything, I think even this webinar, what you are doing, that is a step in the right direction. I thank you, Mr. Marcelo, Mr. Busato, and all others for inviting me to be a panelist. It has been a real pleasure. I have been always, increasing my consumption of Brazilian cotton and hope I will go on doing same and you will go on increasing the Brazilian cotton production. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ranjan. Thank you. I really liked your point about technical assistance, and certainly Mr. Busato will make his comments about it as well. So, Mr. Bagolin, please.
Well, as a representative of the Ministry of Agriculture in the Brazilian Embassy, I'd like to say that we are disposal to anyone that would like to contact us. We could see in the testimonies of Mr. Lalit and Mr. Rajan how it's important to be in place, to know the reality. So we hope that as soon as possible we can resume the missions from Brazil to India, from India to Brazil. That I think it's very important to increase this awareness about Brazilian cotton. That is very important. So thank you.
Mr. Miguel.
As final remarks, I would like to thank all the participants in this webinar that took their time to learn a little bit more about the trade between India and Brazil. And I'm looking forward to visiting India in the near future as soon as it's possible to learn more about your needs and your possibilities. And from there, try to increase the actual level of trade between our two countries. So thank you very much to all of you, and until the next opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miguel. Thank you, Mr. Josie, and thank you all. I'd like to say express my gratitude to you all for being here today. It was a great meeting. We should be meeting more. I'm totally sure that the Indian textile industry is going to grow a lot in the next few years, taking advantage of the diversification that's going to happen in the textile business worldwide, moving away from China, moving in diversifying origins. I think India is in a very, very good position to take advantage and to grow its exports and grow its already important textile sector. And Brazil is certainly in a position to be an important partner for India if because we can aggregate value through our contamination-free cotton to the Indian textile sector. So this is just one more conversation, this one more action. We'll be talking more, we'll be discussing more, and I'll be reaching you personally for more information. And thank you all in the audience for staying with us. And now I'd like to move on to the farewell words from our president, Júlio Busato. Thank you and namaste.
Obrigado, Marcelo.
Thank you, Marcelo. Well, first of all, I'd like to answer a question asked by Mr. Lalit. What could be done in order to improve yield in India and the quality of your cotton? Well, Lalit, although I'm an agronomist and also a farmer, I think I can't help with that because I do not know the climate, not even the soil in India. So perhaps I would be more of a hindrance than help in order to improve your yields. I would like to tell Dalcy that you have a very important mission at the Brazilian embassy in India. You have to help us increase the availability of Brazilian cotton in India, along with Marcelo. I want to thank Mr. Kotak for your words and Mr. Ranjan. Well, we are already contacting someone or a company to provide the spinners technical assistance to optimize Brazilian cotton when blending Brazilian cotton to other cottons. Well, we do not have that person yet, but we are already trying to make some contacts. And this is a very important matter that we were asked. And to close, as we presented here today, Brazil produces quantity. We are able to provide cotton 12 months a year, but we also provide quality through our SBR HVI program. We also have traceability through the Abrapa information system. And last but not least, sustainability with the ABR BCI program. I hope that pretty soon we will be able to visit each other again. I want to visit you to see the industry in India, and we want to bring more people to visit our farms to know how we produce our cotton and how careful we are in producing Brazilian cotton. Stay well and healthy. And to close, we're going to watch a short video called Cotton Brazil Manifesto. Thank you all very much, and a big hug to everyone.
In view of so many transformations in the production and consumption processes, Cotton Brazil represents a new step for Brazilian cotton in the global market. After 20 years of constant innovation, research, and investments led by Abrapa, Brazilian Association of Cotton Growers, its members and partners, it's time to offer the textile universe a raw material that constantly seeks to evolve in quality and sustainability. The market prioritizes transparency, and Cotton Brazil fosters Brazilian cotton, emphasizing its support of the environment and its promotion of social and economic development. In our scenario, advanced technology and agricultural management tools add to the dedicated expertise of trained professionals to develop precision, sustainable growing practices. Supported by its calling for hard work and the search for continuous improvement, Brazil remains one of the main agricultural suppliers of food and raw materials in the world. We value productivity. We pride ourselves on being the fourth largest producer, second largest exporter, and the largest supplier of cotton, licensed by the Better Cotton Initiative, BCI, in the world. And this journey gives us confidence to evolve and go further. Our field science is aligned with the delivery of a product increasingly in tune with the demands of buyers, spinners, and apparel manufacturers in Brazil and around the world. In Brazilian cotton, one will find proof of origin, traceability, quality, technology, and now consistent year-round supply, thanks to a constant increase in productivity. Count on Cotton Brazil. Step by step, we grow for a better future together.
Thanks.